and welcome into a Who's On Postgame Report Home Edition. Yeah, coming to you from the Who's On Podcast Studio, aka my office here in home, but had to get on here and talk about the latest win, a 30-27 win in overtime, of course, for the second straight week win for Virginia over Louisville. I mean, what can you say? It was an ugly game throughout, but Virginia finds a way to win this. Let's go over some of the numbers just here to start. Virginia came into this one. They were 6-10 in the last 20 years when they were ranked. Of course, they came into this game ranked number 24 in the country. They did find a way to win, though. Their first win as a ranked team since 2019 in September against Old Dominion. They also win back-to-back games as an underdog for the first time since 2021 when they did it at Miami and coincidentally at Louisville. So winning last week against Florida State at home, a number 8 team in the country, and then winning again this week as a 6.5-point underdog against this Louisville Cardinals team. Virginia now 5-1, which obviously ties for the most wins that they've had in a single season under Tony Elliott. And for the first time since 2007, Virginia is 3-0 in ACC play. So a lot to talk about here in this one, but the way I kind of put it post game, and I'll start it this way, is great teams find a way to win when all the cards are against them. And yes, pun intended, of course, against the Louisville Cardinals. But Virginia, they had put up, they're the number 5 ranked offense in the country coming into this game. Today, only 237 total yards. 149 in the air, 88 on the ground. They couldn't get any run game going on, and largely due to the fact that they basically had a whole second string offensive line out there when you consider Mikhail Boley was out in the second quarter. So at left tackle, you had Ben York, who was the backup. At left guard, you had Noah Josie, who was the one starter in his position on that offensive line. Drake Metcalf was starting at center because Brady Wilson is still out. So Metcalf has some moves from right guard to center. Then Kevin Wigginton, the backup, is now at right guard. And, of course, Jack Whitmer, who, you talk about this UVA right tackle position. You go from Monroe Mills to Michaelan Thomas to Wallace Unamba to now Jack Whitmer playing at right tackle. So you keep going down the list. UVA's offensive line really thrown at it today. And that's kind of why this offense, I feel like, had a lot of trouble, moving the ball throughout much of the game. They only averaged 2 yards per carry, well below their season average. And again, only get 88 yards total for the game. Dakota Twitty, the tight end, gets a non-contact injury on the first play of the game, or the first drive of the game. And let's talk about the field for just a quick second, because how many guys slipped and fell on this field during the game? It was, multiple players on both sides of the field. Then you had this non-contact injury for Dakota Twitty. So something's off with the turf there in Louisville, and they got to get that fixed. It reminded me a lot of the game last year at Coastal Carolina, and I got to walk on that turf before the game, and that turf was not up to snuff. They still played it. Sage Ennis gets hurt. Jason Hammond gets hurt. Multiple players slip. They have trouble with the turf all game. So I'm not a big turf proponent at this point. I've watched a lot of soccer, and I see, a lot of players don't want to play on turf in the U.S. And honestly, granted, because look what the injuries kind of pile up here. But, a lot going against Virginia in this game, but, they find a way to win. And that's kind of what Tony Elliott talked about post-game, listening to, some of his comments there on the radio. It was kind of, he used the quote, "It's the heart of a champion." They found a way to win. It wasn't their best. At the beginning of the week, after the Florida State game, he said, "We still haven't played our best game this season." No qualms about it. They didn't play their best game of the season in this one either against Louisville, but guess what? They found a way. So looking at some of the big plays in this game, I want to go back to the very beginning, because on that first defensive possession for Virginia, that was only the second time that UVA's offense has had to punt on their first possession of the game this season. But on that first possession for the defense, they looked gassed. They looked tired. They just were playing on their heels that entire first possession. And then they get a little lucky there, because Miller Moss on the toss out to Isaac Brown, who fumbles it, drops it, and Donovan Platt ends up with it, returns it 61 yards for a touchdown. the first of two defensive touchdowns on the day, kind of give a little bit of a spark back to the defense. And I know that, Louisville found ways to score. And gosh, I mean, Chris Bell on the day, look at his numbers real quick. And, I almost considered in our Who's On podcast, post game player of the game award, giving him a shout out there because 12 catches, 170 yards, two touchdowns, including a completely audacious one-handed catch for a touchdown in this one. Incredible performance from him, and Virginia just had no answer against him for the second straight week. Another big, strong, physical, athletic receiver like Deuce Robinson for Florida State. Now Chris Bell for Louisville has a big game against them. So that's something they got to figure out going forward. But, I thought the defense overall played a really strong game, and they made the momentum swing type plays in this game. Same thing I said last week about the Florida State game. This defense kept their offense in it, kept Virginia in this game. I mean, they had to, this week it wasn't even keeping the offense in it. They just went ahead and scored themselves because we had probably the wildest defensive play I've seen in a while, or just sequence of plays. I think the wildest defensive play I saw was the Jason Pavard interception against Florida State last week, but wild sequence events in the second half. Miller Moss is flush from the pocket. Christian Charles, Dan Rickert, about to sack him. Literally about to sack him. He is inches off the ground. His knee, it's just inches off the ground. He throws a pass. It goes right to Cam Robinson, who returns it 47 yards for a touchdown. The second touchdown of his career, the first coming back in 2023 on that same field there in Louisville. So Virginia's defense scores two touchdowns. First time that's happened at least in more than 20 years, is all the stats have found so far. So it hasn't happened in quite some time. Virginia, we haven't seen a lot of defensive touchdowns in recent years. Some memorable ones when they do happen, though. And then 5 sacks. They also have 5 quarterback hurries. Mitchell Melton, playing with that club all season long. He's been close on a couple plays to getting sacks. He's had a half sack. That's all he's had on the season so far, but he gets 2 big ones in this one. Huge game for Mitchell Melton. Dan Rickert also with a sack in this one. He's up to 4.5 sacks, second in the ACC right now, and team leading 4.5 sacks on the season. But tremendous game from the defense. Jason Hammond with a sack as well. Hunter Osborne had one. The secondary, you got some question marks there. I think Devin Neal actually made a couple good plays in this one. He kind of broke up a play there in overtime to Chris Bell. So defensively, I mean, you got to take your hats off to them. They're the reason that Virginia stayed in this game and won this game in the end. But let's look at, in overtime. So obviously you get down to this part in overtime. Louisville has to settle for a field goal after Isaac Brown. I swear, the first couple replays they showed, it looked like Isaac Brown had actually caught that ball, but then they showed the other there was only one view that really showed that he did not make the catch all the way to the ground, and the ball kind of rolls out there towards the end. And that's when the refs saw, and that's why they overturned it. And huge play for Virginia, a huge shift in momentum for them to come back the other way. In overtime, first play, the play action pass to John Rogers, getting Morris on the run, throwing to John Rogers, 14-yard gain, massive play, and great play calling there from Des Kitchings, first and foremost. Then you get the play where Chandler Morris has to scramble, gets 7 yards, almost picks up the first down, takes a huge hit, and he's down on the sidelines. And I can't repeat some of the words that were texted to me in that moment. I think everyone was kind of saying the same things in their living rooms, or if you were there in Louisville. So Chandler Morris has to come out in the next play. Luckily, Tony Elliott did say after the game that he's okay, he's fine, and honestly, he would have come in on the next play had they needed it. But Daniel Kaelin goes in for one play, and it's kind of been the bread and butter short yardage play for Virginia this season. Direct snap to Jamari Taylor, and he trots right in for the 2-yard touchdown. He said in the postgame to Jay James on the Virginia Sports Radio Network that everyone was like, all right, you got to get the first down or you got to score here. And he was like, oh, man, I'm going to score on this play. So huge play there for Jamari Taylor, and just kind of a resilient effort from this Virginia team time and time again. There was another offensive play that I did want to highlight here because it might have been the best offensive play of the game, honestly, for Virginia. It's 3rd and 20 in the second quarter, and Chandler Morris sees the Louisville blitz coming. I had a friend, Alan, text me that, it looked like Jamal Edgerrin actually kind of motioned to him that the blitz was coming. And so Chandler Morris audibles the play on the blitz and goes to a screen pass to Jamari Taylor, who ends up picking up 19 yards in the play on 3rd and 20. Virginia goes for it on 4th and 1, picks up the first down, and then later on scores their only offensive touchdown in regulation on a 19-yard beautiful throw from Chandler Morris to Cam Ross for the 19-yard touchdown. Might have been the play of the game because that helped Virginia, go into halftime, tied up, in, was really all their offense could muster, throughout regulation in this one. But overall, massive, massive win for Virginia on the road in Louisville. They've been close in Louisville a couple times in recent years. I want to wrap up with this, though. I mentioned 3-0 in ACC play for the first time since 2007. ESPN's analytics after the game said that Virginia now has a 52% chance of advancing to the ACC championship game now with this win. You look at the rest of the schedule, 6 games remaining after the bye week coming up. Virginia is favored in every single game throughout the rest of the season at this point. Like Tony Elliott has said time and time again, all they wanted to do was be in the driver's seat, and that's what they are at right now. 5-1, 3-0 in the ACC, 6 very winnable games left on their schedule. It's starting to creep up, and I made the comment with Jackie Franchuli on my podcast on Monday after the Florida State game. If they win this Louisville game, you can toss up all preseason predictions and observations and everything, because this Virginia team has a real chance to do something special this season. Now 5-1, 3-0, lot left to play for in this season. We'll see kind of where this takes us. They have a bye week, really need that bye week now, because you look at the offensive line, just decimated. Mikhail Boley leaves the game in the second quarter in this one. So they're going to be looking to see what his status is going into the next week. But Tony Elliott's already said Brady Wilson, David Wallaba, Wallace Unamba are expected to come back after the bye week. Noah Vaughn should be back after the bye week. And safety Antonio Clary, who's kind of been gradually ramping up this season, he should be full go after the bye week. So the reinforcements should be coming for this Virginia team that really needs it for the second half stretch of the season. You kind of hope that maybe they fare a little bit better injury wise in the second half of the season. But what a start for Virginia. And we're just getting started here on the Who's On podcast. That's going to do it for the post-game report here at the home office. But you can expect more next week. We'll break down this game in full. We'll also look ahead to the rest of the ACC slate, and also we'll be down in Charlotte for the ACC tip-off for UVA men's basketball. We're not flipping the page on this football season, though, so stay tuned here on the YouTube page for the Who's On podcast. Follow, subscribe, you know the deal, comment. Would love to talk to you after a game like this. And then also follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get it. But until then, we'll see you next week here on the Who's On podcast.